history has been made in New York City. Zohran Mamdani, a 34-year-old state lawmaker from Queens, has now won the mayor race to become the mayor of New York. He is in fact the 111th New York mayor. Now, Mamdani is the first Muslim and the first South Asian to ever lead the city and also the youngest mayor in more than a century. So that's the big news coming in right now. Zohran Mamdani, a socialist, a Democrat, has now won the race to become the New York's mayor. Now let's talk about this man. Born in Uganda and raised in New York, Mamdani is the son of acclaimed filmmaker Mira Nair and also academic Mahmood Mamdani. A self-described democratic socialist, he's built his campaign around affordable housing, controlling rents, expanding social welfare in the city of New York. And his victory now marks a major moment for representation and also a generational shift in New York politics. So clearly a shocker, a political earthquake, a political upset, if you call, that Mamdani has been able to pull off in this election. He has become the mayor of New York City, the biggest city in the US and also the financial hub of the United States. It has a new mayor now in the form of a 34-year-old state lawmaker from Queens, Zohran Mamdani. Now he's defeated Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa in this race. It was a three-way contest and now he has defeated both the candidates to become the mayor of New York City. He is in fact the 111th mayor of New York, the first Muslim and in fact the first South Asian to lead this city. He's also the youngest mayor in more than a century. So clearly a lot of unprecedented steps and efforts we're being witnessed in this election. Now let's talk about this man. Who is this man and also the profile that he shares? Born in Uganda, raised in New York, Mamdani is the son of acclaimed filmmaker Mira Nair and also academic Mahmood Mamdani. A self-described democratic socialist, he's built his campaign around affordable housing, controlling rents and expanding social welfare in the city of New York. Some of the issues which have resonated, it seems, with the voters. And his victory now marks a major moment for representation and also a generational and ideological shift in the way New York politics has been working so far. Remember, Donald Trump, the president of the US, has been opposing his candidature for the mayor of New York City. Openly, he's been warning the voters of New York that if they vote in favor of Mamdani, New York's survival is at stake here. And yet, voters went ahead and selected a leader in Zohran Mamdani. He is a 34-year-old state lawmaker from Queens and now he has won the mayor race in the city of New York. Remember, he's a self-described democratic socialist and he's won in a city which is the financial hub of the US, which is the biggest city of the US. In fact, this had become one of the most closely watched city elections around the world. And now the curtain has been lifted and the results are out. Zohran Mamdani has won the race, defeating Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa. He's become the first ever Muslim, first ever South Asian and the youngest ever in over a century mayor to lead the New York City. Now let me also give you details for those of you just joining us that who this man is. Now, born in Uganda and raised in New York, Mamdani is the son of acclaimed filmmaker Mira Nair, who's known for films like Salam Bombay, and his father is an academic, Mahmood Mamdani. He himself is a self-described democratic socialist, and this time in the New York's mayor election, he built his campaign around the issues of affordable housing, controlling rents, expanding social welfare. And all these schemes, it seems, are the ones which have resonated with the voters of New York. And his victory now, in fact, marks a major turning point in the politics of New York and also when it comes to the representation. So clearly, A big political earthquake, a big political upset that Zohran Mamdani has been able to pull off in this election, despite the opposition that was coming in from the president himself, Donald Trump. The voters of New York, they've gone ahead and chosen a leader in Zohran Mamdani, setting up a precedent as to how the politics in the city is now going to work. The promises he's made in this election certainly is going to face a lot of difficulties in implementing those, as Donald Trump has made it very clear that if Mamdani won this election, he will make sure that the funds do not reach New York City. So a lot of difficulties ahead for him. It's not going to be a smooth path for Zohran Mamdani. But nevertheless, he has been able to pull off a political upset in this election of New York City. A 34-year-old state lawmaker from Queens has now won the election to become the New York mayor. The first Muslim, the first South Asian, in fact, to ever lead the city, and also the youngest ever mayor in over a century. So his victory now marks a stunning rise from the little-known state lawmaker to the leader of the US's biggest city. Remember, even when the polls were coming in, he was holding a steady lead in the race. And now he has been able to, in fact, pull off a shock upset for Cuomo as well as Curtis Sliwa. So that's the big breaking. We are tracking at this hour at News9. The results for New York's mayor election is out, and Zohran Mamdani has created a history. He's become the first ever Muslim, the first ever South Asian to lead the city. Remember, he did have the backing of a former US President Barack Obama, AOC, Bernie Sanders, and even within Democrats, he's not as popular. He also represents a very minority faction within the party, that is of socialist Democrats. But now, despite against all the odds, he's been able to win this election. Remember also, when he was campaigning, he used the tools like TikTok, he used the tools like Instagram. He mixed Bollywood music, Bollywood dialogues, movies, all this within his campaign. He went door to door, he was eating with young children, he was going to clubs as well. And all this to make him a familiar face, a face that he wanted to portray as somebody who could stand up to Donald Trump. And now it seems that all of this has resonated with the voters of New York. They did put their faith in Zohran Mamdani. All right, so the big news we're tracking for you at this hour comes from the US New York City mayor elections, where Zohran Mamdani has been able to clinch the victory, defeating Andrew Cuomo as well as Curtis Sliwa. Now, for those of you just joining me, let me give you details of this election. Zohran Mamdani, a 34-year-old state lawmaker from Queens. He's now won the mayor race to become the 111th mayor of New York City. He's in fact the first Muslim and first South Asian to now lead the city, and also the youngest ever mayor in over a century. Now, born in Uganda and raised in New York, Mamdani is the son of an acclaimed filmmaker, Mira Nair, and also academic Mahmood Mamdani. Talk about the campaign and the issues that his campaign resolved around. Well, he campaigned around the issues of affordable housing, controlling rents, as well as expanding social welfare in the city of New York. And it seems that these were the issues that resonated with voters. He was able to bring in the young voters specifically through the use of social media a lot in his campaigning throughout. We've seen his videos of mixing Bollywood music, dialogues with his campaigning going viral on social media. It was a campaign unlike any other.
Sir.
You have Ryan Nichols, who's making more than $113 million every year.
All right, the big news at this hour. Zohran Mamdani making history in New York by winning the mayor elections. It was a three-way contest between Andrew Cuomo, Zohran Mamdani and Curtis Lewa. Now he's defeated both the other men by clinching the victory. And with that victory, he's become the first Muslim mayor of the New York City, the first South Asian who's going to lead the city, and also the youngest ever mayor in over a century that New York has seen. Let's talk about this man a little bit more. Born in Uganda, raised in New York, Mamdani is the son of acclaimed filmmaker Mira Nair and academic Mahmood Mamdani. A self-described democratic socialist, he's built his campaign around the issues of affordable housing, controlling rents, expanding social welfare. And now his victory marks a major moment for representation and also a generational shift in which New York politics has been working so far. Now remember, despite opposition coming in from Donald Trump himself, who warned the voters of New York that if Zohran Mamdani comes to power, he will be cutting off federal funds to the city. Despite against all the odds, he's managed to pull this off. Now my colleague Varghese Ibrahim is joining me on phone line on this. Varghese, it was expected that he could win, but of course he's been able to pull off this political upset. How do you look at this?
Well, it seems that it's not only when it comes to New York, it's not only the sentiment of change that we are in fact seeing. Interestingly enough, even in other elections that have been happening in Virginia or in other states in the United States where or even mayoral polls being held at a local level in certain places as well, Democrats are doing much, much better. And they, in some places, they have in fact been able to establish themselves. New York, of course, being the crown jewel for the Democrats today, especially with Mamdani's win. It also signals the fact that Mamdani had actually been able to catch the pulse of New Yorkers, especially on the issue of higher costs of living in that city. But we did see something interesting that's coming in from the White House as well. The White House has made a has put out a very cryptic message on its Twitter handle, where it says that Trump is your president. Now, that is something that they have put out right now. So, Trump has already, in fact, said that if New Yorkers do go ahead and elect Mamdani, he would, in fact, not be able to give the funds to his home state as it should be. So, clearly, there is something that has politically that has in fact happened on the ground, and congratulation messages have also been coming in from former Democrat leaders, as well as such as Bill Clinton, the former president, has in fact congratulated Zohran Mamdani on his election as next mayor of New York City. He said he's wishing him success and to transform the passion of your campaign to building a better, fairer, more affordable New York. So affordability has been the campaign that Mamdani has been working on. He has in fact spoken about the high cost of living in that city. Many had been, in fact, moving away from New York as such. There have been adjustments that have been carried out in New York where people had to come to work in New York but had to move farther away from the city towards the lesser costly suburbs to actually carry out with a living. So that has been something that has been one of the campaign tasks that have been put forward, and he had promised a reform on that particular aspect as well. The Conservatives, of course, speaking about them, they were in fact looking like Sliva as well as Kumar to an extent, who is a former Democrat and now who was running as an independent person for this particular election. Well, all of them were not projecting something that could immediately strike a chord with the voters in New York, and that was the issue of cost of living and affordability of being in that city as well. So now the big question is how much of spending is New York going to in fact see? Now, among all the mayoral elections that happens in the city, in the various cities of the United States, New York has a completely different profile to it. It's of course their business capital, and at the same time, it has a completely different profile in the sense that the people over there are said to be quite diverse compared to the rest of the country as well. And when it comes to political alliances also, there is no hard and fixed rules of people being in one camp or the other. So that is why it is considered to be a very fluid kind of city as such. And this mayoral election has the kind of prestige that it in fact reflects the kind of sentiment that could be there in the larger part of America. So Mamdani's success in fact showcases that the Democrats have been able to have a fighting chance with regard to Trump and his policies, and probably Mamdani would in fact lead that tirade against Trump from New York. But the question now is that we have already seen how the United States in fact are suffering from the issue about spending, and how the government spending or the government funds for various aspects of the working of the government has been completely stalled, as the Democrats have not been able to push for a bill, and the Republicans have been trying to get a deal, but that has not been happening. And therefore, we can in fact see how the Democrats have been able to actually understand the sentiment on the ground. But again, questions being raised as to how much they would be able to keep it going in the eastern coast, because of course the East Coast is where the Democrats have been traditionally strong, but how much they would be able to take it into Middle America as well as the West Coast as well.
Right, Varghese, it's clearly a big boost for the Democrats in the U.S. and also a big political upset for President Trump himself. You already mentioned that White House has put out a cryptic note. But I want to ask you, this win, a Muslim man, an immigrant, a man of South Asian descent, coming to power in a city like New York, who's also a self-described as socialist Democrat, it does reshape a generational and ideological shift as well, right?
Well, if you're looking at the kind of ideology, if he's talking about socialist Democrat, this is something that Trump has in fact effectively used against him, calling him a communist, Mamdani as a communist. So Bernie Sanders is the kind of socialism that we will probably see Mamdani working under. So Bernie Sanders socialism in fact speaks about encompassing plurality, making housing affordable, making healthcare affordable, making in fact school education also quite affordable. And this is something that the business communities within New York have had a problem for. But now the question would be that how the taxes are going to be reworked in such a way to fund so much of the promises that he has in fact made, the campaign promises that he made. That would be the finances that would have to in fact be looked into, and that requires the funding from the federal government as well. So how that will work out with Trump already making his intent clear that he wouldn't be able to give the kind of funds that New York would be looking at. So clearly it looks like it is going to be an uphill task when it comes to ensuring funds for the promises that he has made. But the fact also remains that the Democrats have been able to gain ground with the talks about how Trump's America has become quite costly for the common American, and therefore that is something that could see a pitch in the coming elections, the presidential elections as well.
Certainly not a smooth road ahead for Zohran Mamdani, despite him winning the elections now. But thank you, Varghese, for joining us and giving us those inputs. Now, of course, the big story at this hour, Zohran Mamdani winning the mayor race in New York City and becoming the 111th mayor of this city. Remember, he's the first Muslim to lead the city, first ever South Asian, and also the youngest man to lead the city in over a century. So clearly a political earthquake, a political upset that he's been able to pull off in this election. Now, for those of you just joining us, let me give you details of the big story we're tracking at this hour. Zohran Mamdani, a 34-year-old state lawmaker from Queens, has now won the mayoral race to become the mayor of New York City. He's now the first Muslim, the first South Asian to ever lead the city, and also the youngest ever mayor in more than a century New York has seen. Now, when we talk about his profile, born in Uganda and raised in New York, Mamdani is the son of an acclaimed filmmaker, Mira Nair, and academic Mahmood Mamdani. He's a self-described Democrat, socialist, and he built this campaign in New York City around the issues of affordable housing, controlling rents, and expanding social welfare. So the cost of living crisis, this is what has struck the right chord with the voters, it seems, at this point. Because New Yorkers were upset with the rising cost of living, and this is what his promises, his campaign catered to. And I think at this point, his victory marks a major moment for New York City when it comes to representation, and also it marks a generational shift in the way New York politics has been going on so far. Trump was warning New Yorkers again and again, saying that if Mamdani comes to power, he will cut off federal funds to the city. And despite that, despite the warning that the future of New York City is at stake in this election, voters in New York went ahead and selected Zohran Mamdani as their mayor. And with that, he's been able to clinch the victory. He's become the first Muslim mayor, an immigrant, a South Asian man to lead the US's biggest city. Of course, we'll have to see all the promises that he's now made. How will we see the implementation of those on the ground? Remember, he promised to increase taxes on the rich, to freeze the stabilized rental rates, to increase publicly subsidized housing, and to ensure that there's a free universal child care. These were the promises on which voters decided to select him. We'll have to see how the road ahead is going to be for him. How will we implement these reforms in a city with Wall Street at its heart? Of course, this election is a big boost for Democrats as well in the US and will have repercussions in the national politics of the country as well. Remember, this is the news we're just getting in, so we will of course have to decode what are the factors that actually struck the right chord with the voters, what other factors played a crucial role in this race. But at this point, Zohran Mamdani has defeated Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa to become the mayor of New York City. Clearly a political earthquake and a political shock that he's been able to pull off. A 34-year-old state lawmaker from Queens has now become the mayor of New York City. He's the 111th mayor of the New York City, the first Muslim and the first South Asian to ever lead the city. Now, he was born in Uganda, he was raised in New York, and he is the son of an acclaimed filmmaker Mira Nair and academic Mahmood Mamdani. There are several contentious issues when it came to his campaigning, his pro-Palestine stand, his anti-Israel stand, and also the remarks he made with regards to Hindus. Those are the issues that will, of course, may create obstacles for him in the path ahead.